it's almost hard to believe, man, but this Trump Bronx rally, this thing really has some legs. And I think it's going to keep having legs, man, because the corporate media, the political elite, they're completely losing their minds. And it's almost a perfect storm. It's a blue city, non-white people, impressive turnout, and they are absolutely freaking out because they see that they're losing control of the minds of the people that they think should be a sure thing for them. And I think another thing that's making them freak out, they don't even understand how it's possible. They do not know how Donald Trump is doing it. So like all things they can't explain, they just try to minimize it, try to denigrate it, which honestly, I love to see them doing because it only shrinks their tent even more. And CNN had a pretty interesting mock Trump and mock voters segment and typical leftist true colors, but they get some pretty spot on pushback.
Convention. My panel joins me now. Our viewers will recognize most of you, but Ronna Epting, MoveOn.org executive director. Welcome to State of the Union. It's great to see you all here. Okay, so let's start with the Libertarian Convention. We were saying as we were coming into this segment, I mean, the Libertarian Convention has never gotten this much play like ever, so they achieved that.
Yeah, normally it's because someone goes on the stage and takes all their clothes off, or I mean, remember, this is a convention for people who tuck their shirts into their underwear. I mean, it's a weird.
Is that really a thing? Wow.
Yeah, but Trump going there this week, they are striking such a confident pose right now. He goes to the Libertarians and tells them, if you want to keep getting your 3%, go ahead, otherwise come with me. He goes to the Bronx and says, I'm better than Joe Biden. I'm trying to build a party that's inclusive of you. I think all the places he's going, they are striking this confident pose. And it's a campaign unlike we've seen from other Republican candidates. I think it's pretty confident, and they know they're winning, and they're trying to take advantage of that position.
Oh, see, I think it's the opposite. I mean, traditionally, you're not going to send your candidate into a place where you know he is going to get jeered for 30 minutes. He also cut his speech short. I mean, he wasn't enjoying it. He wasn't loving it. So I know the spin from the Trump campaign has been like, we're trying to go into non-traditional places and unite the country. But this to me actually shows how concerned they are. They're concerned about RFK Jr. They see him taking enough of Trump's support in polls that they felt like they had to send their guy in to essentially get like macheted at the Libertarian conference because they're worried about the support that RFK Jr. is getting. And don't forget, he's also in the Bronx because he's on trial in Manhattan and tethered to New York. So I don't know that that's like such a strategic decision as it is a tactical one.
Serious copium, man. She says it's just spin from the Trump campaign that they're going into non-traditional places. And then she tries to spin it that they're actually worried about the dedicated libertarian vote, as if any of those people would actually turn out for RFK Jr. That might have been a possibility a few months ago. I mean, RFK was actually working pretty hard to get that nomination so he could actually make sure he was on ballots in all 50 states. But then he went and picked about as radical a progressive as you can find for vice president. No actual libertarian is going to be voting for RFK. And as far as Donald Trump going into the Bronx because he cannot leave New York, I mean, these people, I think they actually believe it. I don't think they realize he's got a nicer plane now than he did when he was president. But come on, he can go wherever he wants. I mean, he's going to places like the Bronx because he wants to go to places like the Bronx. And these people, they're just trying to cope. I mean, I think they're just trying to cope. I don't know. Maybe they actually do believe that candidates should only reach out to people beyond their base when they're desperate. I hope that she believes it. I mean, if that's what Democrat strategists actually believe, then they're going to lose.
No, go ahead.
I'd just also add, I think it's notable that when Trump was up there, he was getting booed primarily. I think that's what we heard through the streams. And while one could admire a 50-state strategy, let's talk to everyone, but I think the boos at the Libertarian Convention, the smaller crowd at the Bronx.
Smaller crowd. You almost have to feel bad for these people, man. You do have to feel bad for them. Her coping mechanism is to talk about a smaller crowd at the Bronx rally. Any crowd at a Bronx rally should be a flashing red warning sign to every single Democrat strategist out there. I mean, Joe Biden probably couldn't get 250 people to show up. And even at the most conservative estimates, Trump got 10,000, maybe probably a whole lot more. He had the Jersey Shore, and they coped with that by telling their victims that, people started leaving before it finished. And the Bronx, now they're saying that it was only 10 or 20,000. I mean, you almost have to feel bad for these people.
Rally, I think this is enough just evidence when he's not talking to his hardcore base. It's evidence that the anti-Trump sentiment is still out there, and it's very strong.
But look, I think going to the Libertarian Convention was smart. According to Gallup, they represent 17 to 20% of the American electorate. Maybe you shave off 8% of them. That can make a difference in a very, very tight presidential race. Regardless of the reasons going to the Bronx, it's important. No one should be presumptive to assume that people of color are going to just vote one way purely because they're black or because they're Hispanic. That seems to be the case for my Democratic friends. And I think it's why a lot of people of color are looking at Joe Biden and they're realizing that my life is not better. When I go to the grocery store, things are expensive. The infrastructure in my surrounding community has not improved. And when I think about the future for my children, they're still in dilapidated schools where the educational system is deplorable. That's the Democratic message in my perspective. And so to have a Republican show up, whether he's being booed, jeered, whatever the case may be, he's showing up to places where Joe Biden is not, and I think that's going to make a difference.
Well, but the Biden campaign is doing significant outreach.
He nailed it, man. I mean, the dude, this guy is spot on. He is so spot on that he's able to just crush these racist propagandists right to their face. I mean, he basically calls them out for thinking that the minority vote is some sort of foregone conclusion. That's what these people think. They think that no one other than some vote blue, no matter who type, should even bother reaching out to people. And if that's the case, if they really do believe that, it honestly does explain why their candidates and why their policies have ignored those people for decades. And they've gotten away with it for decades. And here's the thing, man, people are tired of being ignored. People are tired of being lied to, and they're tired of being told what to do by people like this. I mean, basically, things are changing fast, but the left still thinks that we're in the days of Bill Clinton.
Reach to minority voters. I mean, look at their advertising. Look at, Biden was at Morehouse. Biden has spent a lot of time. They recognize, well, you laugh, but they recognize that they have outreach to do to that community. So I think suggesting that somehow Biden is taking those voters for granted, that's just not borne out in what you see in their strategy. They know that they've got to work to bring some of those voters home, and that's what they're committed to doing.
It's funny, man. I mean, people see what they want to see. They believe, or at least pretend to believe, whatever they want to believe, right? She says that Morehouse was about outreach to minority communities. And this gentleman, he laughed because Joe showed up and told a room full of black graduates that they're screwed, that their country doesn't see them as a part of the country or whatever nonsense they said. He basically said that they don't have a chance. And if that's outreach, then they're in trouble, man. I mean, Joe I think he's probably pissed that he even has to reach out to non-whites. 4 years ago, he told us exactly what he thinks about blacks who vote against him.
I don't even think it's correct to analyze this via racial lines, because the problems that are being had in the black community, the Hispanic community, are the same problems being had in the white working class community, which is cost of living. And so when Biden goes to like Morehouse and says everything, which by the way, I thought was a disgraceful speech. But when he talks about,
what did you think was disgraceful about it?
Telling a whole group of African-American college students that their country doesn't see them in the future of this nation, that is a lie. That is an absolute disgraceful lie. But the main political problem is they have the same issues, which is cost of living, and he's not finding a message on that that's working for any of these subgroups right now.
But I think you do see him acknowledging that. And I think you see his message is getting more and more. You hear him putting empathy first. You hear him talking about, I understand what it's like to grow up in a middle class household, and that's where I'm focused. That's what my second term will be focused on. I think he acknowledges that there's work to do there. And I think
this woman, she is fully insane. If that was a real question, she's fully insane. In 3, 2, 1. Dude, fully insane. This woman, if that was a real question, she is fully insane. She says, what did you think was wrong with that speech? She actually thought that Joe Biden's race-baiting identity warrior commencement was some kind of good speech. I mean, she can't possibly believe that. But if she does, these people are insane. I mean, the point is, no matter what color you are, you're still dealing with the same tired and terrible economy. The economy that Joe Biden has literally named after himself and is going to tell you daily how amazing it is. I mean, he says he created your job and you're going to thank him for that job with a vote for Joe Biden. It's basically what he demands, what he expects. I mean, these people are so incredibly insane. None of that is going to work. I mean, not even Democrats can gaslight themselves out of this mess. I mean, this is what people are looking for. This is what they need.
of the world. Look, we had the greatest economy in history. Everybody here, where you have a small business or if you had a job, you were getting more than you ever made. And we had no inflation. We had no 1.4%, considered none, considered better than none, because frankly, none in its own way is a bad thing also. We had a perfect number, 1.4%. It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are, it doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
That's exactly right, man. All Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans. I mean, that is the message right there. And that is what we need. I mean, our two choices could not be any more stark, man. There has never been so much daylight between the two parties. I mean, you almost can't make it up. Remarkable stuff to watch. That's just my take, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, guys, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.